This is KLEAN Radio.
Welcome, everybody out there listening to KLEAN Radio. If you go right now, you go to facebook.com/KLEAN Radio. You could post or at Twitter. Let us know what you think. Andrew is back in studio with us tonight.
Hey, welcome, Judah. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. A little hot.
It is a little hot in Los Angeles.
It is.
And I'd like to welcome everybody out there. We have a great show for you tonight. We have a great guest. Her name is Gaba. She's an author. She's been on TV. She's been pretty much in every venue of addiction that talks about addiction and helping people for a while. So we'll get to that in a second. But if you just tuned in, like I said, you are listening to KLEAN Radio. Go to KLEANradio.com. My new blog is up, and it's Slogans and Sobriety.
I saw that today.
And you could tell me
the slogan that saved your life.
The slogan that saved my life. And here's the thing. I think a lot of us when we're struggling, and I think so many people out there, it could be really any disease. You hear, and I used to hear these slogans, and I used to hear somebody say it was the first drink that gets you drunk. And I used to look up at them and go, what are you talking about? It's the 15th drink that gets me drunk.
I was wondering if you took the first and the second at the same time, if that stopped.
That actually happened quite often. But it wasn't until I got sober that I understood that I finally understood what that meant, that you can't get drunk without the first drink.
Right.
I really couldn't. I was like, where am I? That they're telling me that
you were drunk, Judah.
Yeah,
so it's harder to understand.
I was drunk, but I would also hear it sometimes sober in the 12-step world. It just didn't make sense to me. A lot of those things didn't make sense to me, one of the things also that saved my life was hearing somebody say your feelings couldn't kill you. Nobody's tombstone, it said they died of their feelings. And I think for a lot of alcoholics, a lot of addicts that we see, their emotions, their feelings sometimes, they really believe.
I actually disagree with that one, because depression can definitely lead to suicidal ideation.
Right.
So.
I'm not saying it's 100% all the time, but for me, I would always thought, this hurts too much.
Yeah.
I got to drink. And this was the first time in my sobriety that I was able to say that I would push through it. And I think for some people, you have to push through it. Sometimes people need medication. Sometimes people need, help, assistance, whether it's being in rehab, but I needed to push through it. And that's the hashtag tonight is Slogans and Sobriety. Give us a call. The number is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. There's tons of amazing stories out there right now that are astonishing and amazing of what's going on. But let's get right away to our guest. She's an author. She's got a book out called The Law of Sobriety. Let's welcome to KLEAN Radio, Gaba.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And why don't you tell us a little bit about this book?
Law of Sobriety is all about law of attraction meets addiction. How many of you in this room have seen the movie The Secret?
I have.
What did you think of that, Andrew?
I thought it was a lot of new age kind of stuff.
Oh, I don't know how to take that. New age kind of stuff, like woo-woo good, or woo-woo like...
I get their point, but, there's a lot of people mathematically that just aren't going to be able to get everything.
So the deal is that with the movie, there weren't action steps. And so really, I didn't really reinvent the wheel. I just have another name for it. And it's all about taking the action, which is what we know the 12 steps is all about.
Sure.
So a lot of times, you're an MSW like myself. You'll meet with a client and you want to meet them where they are. They come in and they're like, I don't believe in God, or I don't want to go to meetings. And so the whole deal is, let's meet them where they are, right? Isn't that the first thing we learn when we go to school? So we talk about universal energy, infinite energy, and it's really all the same thing. It's just higher power in like with a different verbiage.
Cool. Yeah. I'm all about joining with clients and meeting them where they are. We've been trying to expand that, I think, even more with a lot of the programming we've been doing and developing, and trying to actually work with people that are actively using as well.
Well, we're getting so many young people, obviously, with the epidemic of, opiates. And so, they're just not buying it. And so they need something different. And the other aspect of the book is about finding purpose in recovery. Because if we don't replace the addiction with something that we love, then there's a really good chance you're going to relapse.
So what do you think the purpose is?
The purpose. What is the purpose of being recovered? Is to have a life.
To have a life. So that's identity.
To live, and to live
identity
purposely.
Formation.
Find out what your calling is. Did you go back to school later in life?
No.
Okay. So
yes, but I never stopped going. So.
Okay, right.
I like to think it was later in life. It was in my late 20s.
Okay.
Hopefully my life will be really long and then it won't be later in life.
So, but you reinvented yourself. You opened up rehabs. You did different things.
Yeah.
I went back to school mid-30s. I mean, it's all about, like, why am I here? You know.
Well, they say nowadays that you're going to have an average of 8 careers in your life, the way the economy is. So
definitely.
People are constantly having to reinvent themselves.
And, you know, I don't buy that when people say to me, well, the economy, I can't find a job. You know, become an entrepreneur. I mean, look at the internet. There's lots of things you can do today that have nothing to do with a job.
One of the things you also do is you're a life coach.
I'm a life coach, exactly, or a recovery coach, but a life coach as well.
Well, what is a recovery coach?
Okay, so a therapist looks at family of origin issues, looks at your past. A life coach, recovery coach is moving you forward. That, you know, what is it that what is next? You know, they're going to help co-create. They're not the authority figure like a therapist. A coach is basically more like a partner. Kind of a partner in crime. The sponsor, on the other hand, as you know, is somebody that's going to take you through the 12 steps. So a coach is really going to help you have a life because as we you say in the program, you've got to change everything. So they're going to help you change everything, help you with your new friendships, your new relationships, help you with your health, help you with your spirituality, help you with jobs. Kind of help you in terms of you finding the way, not doing it for you, but sort of being accountable to that person. Because I find, and I'm sure you know this, when someone first gets sober, they don't know how to even write a check. So often, having somebody they can
in 10 years, they won't have them to worry about.
That's true. Or credit cards.
Right.
I know.
It won't even be a concern.
That's true.
Right.
I was watching something about that. Not even wallets. I was hearing that you don't even have to have a wallet anymore.
And if you just tuned in, you are listening to KLEAN Radio. We're in studio tonight with Sherry Gaba, author of the book Law of Sobriety. And also, you've been on so many different things, whether it was Sober House, Celebrity Rehab, sex addiction, and Celebrity Rehab. And a little interesting story. We live in LA, and we talk about this often, they're in New York, but I was at dinner years ago with somebody, and we were talking about rehab, and I was a very bright woman, and her only knowledge of rehabs was by watching Celebrity Rehab.
Yes.
And you guys, in a sense, brought into the culture, whether it was shown correctly to some, shown not correctly to others, you brought into the vernacular of our society what rehab might look like.
Well, you can't believe how much kind of like the haters would write me on, Facebook, whatever, like, you're breaking anonymity having a show like that.
We understand.
I'm like, really? I'm like, now people know what rehab is. I mean, that poor person at home or that mother that has a kid that's dying of heroin abuse and doesn't know, what goes on in rehab. What a great way to understand what does go on. And honestly, Celebrity Rehab was the real deal. It was a real program. Sure, there was entertainment aspects of it because it was TV, it was reality TV, but it was a real program. Seriously, a real program. I know you're looking at me like, nah, really, Sherry? But it really was a real program.
I mean, Jennifer Menez worked with us at KLEAN, and Bob Forrest and I have worked together for a long time, so
you know, those are real counselors.
But again, it sounds like in your book, and
Bob is, right?
Bob is a counselor, not a therapist, but a counselor.
Yeah. But it sounds in your book, I think it's really important to get out there that, the 12 steps are great. It saved my life. And we speak about this a lot. There are other paths to getting sober. There's not just one path. And I think it's really important sometimes to talk about however it is, you get there. Some might say having a life coach or a recovery coach, all this new age sort of stuff like the movie The Secret you're talking about, whatever gets you there.
Well, my hope is that once, you get them connected to what they're interested in, hopefully eventually they'll get to the 12 steps because I'm a big believer in the 12 steps. I'm in the other 12-step program, Al-Anon.
There are you should say that, right? Because there's so many.
Well,
people
I guess
like,
I always think in anonymity. I'm not supposed to say, but yeah, I'm in Al-Anon, and so that it saved my life because that is a disease as well, untreated codependency.
What do you think about the concept of magical thinking?
Well, I think of magical thing. I think that most addicts have it, and I often think that the person married to the addict has it because their desire to be with that person is greater than the truth of knowing that person is wrong for them or that disease is greater than the truth.
Okay, and some of the aspects of what you're putting out there, though, are magical thinking as well, but a different kind, right?
Oh, you mean in my book?
Yeah.
Well, my book is just about action. It's not it's just about taking action in recovery. What you put out is what you bring back. I mean, I'm not really that's the whole concept.
That's the golden rule, right? Same thing.
If you think mindfulness is woo-woo, and that's one of my steps, finding your authenticity, right action, finding purpose. I don't know why you would call that magical thinking.
I didn't say that was magical thinking. I didn't say. I was saying there are aspects of magical thinking, right? Like the idea that somebody comes in and then they're going to, believe things and that are different than who they are right then, that you're going to point them in directions that may not be them yet, giving them ideas.
It may be too soon.
Well, like the concept of The Secret, right, is that you just put out some positive energy and positive energy will come back to you.
With action.
With action.
In other words,
explain that action part more.
My whole thing, I love motivating people. I love bringing out the best in people. I love bringing out the potential that exists in them that they don't even know they have. I mean, like in the program of the 12 steps, you say, we will love you till you love yourself.
Right. That's a slogan.
A slogan.
Yes.
Yay, slogans
and
do
that
that.
slogan might help save some people's life.
It actually does.
Anyways, to get to the point. So
the point is, what a coach is doing, or my book is saying, we're going to find what it is that you are here for. Right. And we're going to do that. I'm going to, do that by believing in you. I'm going to champion you. Mm-hmm. That's really what the book is about, champion someone's growth.
That's great. I like that.
And if you just tuned in, you are listening to KLEAN Radio tonight. Our hashtag is Slogans in Sobriety. We're here with author Sherry Gaba, author of the book Law of Sobriety. So give us a call. The number is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. You actually spoke about, and I'm interested in hearing both of your opinions on this. NFL has had a wave of issues going on right now about domestic violence. And I don't know if people are always touching on the right thing when it comes to domestic violence, because is that a mental illness? Or there's something off? Well,
the perpetrator has an anger management issue.
I don't think people are talking about it enough. They're talking about it. Always seems like people are dealing with the last
this
issue.
is one of the dangers that comes with labeling anything, right? So, you say, okay, everybody that I don't know is depressed has a certain way of acting, and the reality is that there's many forms of depression. There's many forms of problems with rage and anger. There's also people that are just antisocial. They have personality disorders, and their developmental process as they grow up has been stunted, and they believe that some behaviors are appropriate that the rest of us find morally and legally objectionable. So I worry about always just saying, okay, that's just this disorder or that disorder, because it's not simple as that. I mean, that guy is actually responsible for hitting his fiance.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's no hiding behind a label. Now, trying to figure out how to stop people from hitting their fiancés, that's a better discussion, because then we can actually talk about, like you talk about actions, we can actually talk about things that people are experiencing rage can do to help not feel rageful, and not get them in a situation where they hurt somebody or hurt themselves.
So how do we do that? How do we go about doing that? Because the first thing people always want to do these days, automatically, obviously, is we punish, we ban. We don't look at what's going on.
Yeah, well, that is this reactive sort of stance we have as a country, and we've decided to criminalize everything instead and act reactively instead of proactively. And I think a lot of what you're talking about is action steps that are proactive to change your life.
There's amazing anger management programs out there, but it takes years for someone to change. It's a tough one. I mean, it's a really tough one to reverse someone that is violent. I mean, often they come from a violent home. They're modeling what they know. It's really sad. And then, of course, another conversation would be about the victim. What is she struggling with? I mean, I think a lot of them have what I would call love addiction. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you say?
Well, obviously they're playing into, they're feeling comfortable with someone that acts like that. So there's got to be some sort of past history that they're working through.
Right. It might have been modeled in their home. That's what they call love. Love is being, in a relationship where there's verbal abuse or there's name calling, or, I mean, there's sort of an adrenaline rush to that kind of relationship, which is it's what they know from where they came from.
I think for both men and women that are abused, often they want to be paid attention to, and that's where we get this blaming the victim idea, that the victim should somehow be blamed because they were flirtatious or they were maybe asking for it or egging on the other person, when in fact that's their own pathology as well. There's lots of things going on. It's a dynamic relationship.
We don't know what's going on in that home. I mean, I had an argument with someone the other day, an older woman the other day, saying, why is she going around on the media, trying to defend her husband? And it's like, hello, I mean, do you understand that she's probably been stripped away of her self-esteem? She probably feels completely invisible, and we don't know if he's threatening her still. We don't know. We just don't know what's going on, right?
And what was amazing is half the stadium basically was wearing Ray Rice jerseys.
Well, she also has a lot financially to lose. I mean, he doesn't play for half a season. That's a lot of money out of her pocket.
Now it's forever, basically.
Is it forever?
Yeah, I mean, he's banned. And it was also another story on Friday about Adrian Peterson, one of the best running backs, beating his kid with a tree branch and basically saying, that's how I was raised, and he's being banned right now, or he's deactivated. So there's a whole thing. It's a systemic.
I find it ironic that the NFL is becoming sort of the moral conscience of America.
Or lack of it. And
Isn't that interesting?
And again, if you just tuned in, you are listening to KLEAN Radio. We're in studio tonight with Sherry Gaba, author of the book Law of Sobriety. Let's go to Heather checking in. Welcome, as always, to KLEAN Radio, Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to call in because I had my 16th anniversary on Friday.
Hi, welcome. Happy birthday.
Thank you. And I also wanted to share one of my favorite slogans, even though it's not as well known. For fear, instead of one of the ones which is, face everything and recover, what I like is forgetting everything's all right.
That could be called denial, but okay.
Yes, but I mean, in the end, I'm like, okay, I'm breathing,
Right.
I'm breathing, I have a roof over my head, if I don't have a roof over my head, it's not raining right now.
I think a lot of that's about being present, right? You were talking about mindfulness earlier, right? And the idea of being present and not just in your head or in the past.
I mean, I think the founders, when they talked about one day at a time, that was all about being present and mindful, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, because I, teach that myself with my clients with mindfulness and everything. But basically, I tell my clients that when I assign them homework, that I'm going to be working on the same homework for when I meet with them the following week, so that they know that I'm working on it myself and then I'm just not saying, here, do this.
That's actually a very interesting. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think one of the things you're talking about is, Heather's called on the show about going back to the gym, about really, the action part to getting into your life. Mm-hmm. That it's not just I want to do this. Right. It's actually putting the steps into doing it.
And so sometimes having somebody that she can be accountable to, like, yes, I will go to the gym 3 times this week. That's why people hire trainers sometimes. Right. That's the only way they'll get to the gym.
I hire a trainer. I still don't go to the gym.
But, Judah, I have to say I'm jealous of your heat. It's September, and it's getting darker, and it's getting colder.
We're all in the same place, Andrew and Sherry and I, so be jealous of all our living in the heat of...
Yes, I'm jealous of all of you. But, but I'm also taking steps because I know that my mood tends to dip when it gets dark and everything.
Andrew and I actually have had this conversation on the show about seasonal...
affective disorder,
right? And a lot of people are going through this. I go through that when the time changes and the clocks change, and it gets darker early out.
It is actually always changing. You do realize that?
Yes, I do realize that, Andrew.
There's a name for it, right? Sundowners, right? Sundowners.
Yeah, that's one of them.
And it's actually very
seasonal affective disorder.
It's seasonal, yeah. And it's actually funny because I actually stopped going to something because when I would go in, it was light, and when I'd come out, it was dark. And every week I felt a little odd, a little off. And, nobody wants to talk about these things out loud, but there actually is a name for it. So,
isn't it true, like in Portland, Oregon, there's like more suicide because of the dark?
Yeah, we get a lot of clients from Portland. Portland's actually one of our biggest stations. And, Portland's
a lot of depression, a lot of suicide.
Cornell University Ithaca College, where I grew up in Ithaca, New York, they had the highest, they called it gorging out. And I think 2 years ago, we had, close to 22 suicides in one semester. Uh-huh. They put state troopers on the bridges and whatever because people were just, the weather's so horrible.
It's true.
But again, it's like what I love about Heather calling in and talking about this, she's actually having dialogue of something that's, scares her. Because most people are actually scared to admit out loud, it's weird when the time changes. Yeah. And as football season's starting, I want to tell people out there, there's studies on this, that football team lose, the next day the work production's down in that state.
It's more with men. We see testosterone levels go higher.
Domestic violence is up during football season. I've heard, yes.
And now that includes with NFL players. So it's not just the fans, it's the players
So if you watch Scarface in the morning, you watch football all day long,
you're in trouble.
You're in trouble in the evening.
So
on what Judah was saying, it's also one of the things I learned in early recovery, is the importance of ratting yourself out. If you're thinking about drinking or anything of that nature. I liked, Judah's story in the latest blog.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love that. Go to KLEANradio.com. Read my blog. Heather likes it. So should you. Post, comment. Thank you, Heather.
I like how you turn her liking it into full self-promotion, 30 seconds.
Yep.
Jude, I was thinking, just about these acronyms, stinking thinking,
yes.
okay?
Yeah.
Right? That's like cognitive behavioral therapy right there.
Yeah.
I mean, the founders really had it going on.
I mean, AA is largely DBT and CBT.
Isn't it, though?
That's really what it is.
So is. It's amazing.
With a healthy dose of religion added in.
Right.
Yeah.
But the most important thing for all these things to work is that you have to be sober to get them. You know, none of these things, and it's why, whether it's outpatient, whether it's treatment, you have to have somewhat of a lucid, clear head. You know, I had a therapist in New York that used to not treat people till they had a couple of years sober. Right. And she would say, "You're not getting honest. You know, come to me when you're ready, and that was her thing. And there's something to be said about that clear head. And it's sort of, I get now finally what you're asking, when he was asking you about the magical thinking. It's in a sense, when you get sober, it's all crazy. It's so hard to realize what it is you want.
Right.
You know, when I was 22 and I got sober, somebody said, "What is it that you want?" And before I could answer, he said, "Shut up. You'd just be cutting yourself short."
Well, a lot of people believe also that if you do anything that isn't provable is magical thinking. So therefore, you know, if you're thinking things that are just something you believe, that can often lead to troublesome
Sure.
belief
No,
systems.
there needs to be a time that you're sober before you do a lot of things, even trauma therapy. You can't really start trauma with somebody, you know, trauma work with somebody until they have a few months sober, because they're just not ready for any of that. They just need to get clean and sober first. I agree.
Yeah.
There's only one thing that I did want to bring up about, you know, the law of attraction and the secret.
The law of sobriety.
Well, but the book is about the law of
sobriety. But I mean, the law of sobriety is the book. But the thing is that, you know, I used to live that for a number of years, but I also sort of recognize that the flip side of that is sometimes people blame people if bad things happen to them. So like,
I also think people have a crazy sense of entitlement that, the things that they expect to want, material things and, status and power and things that are, that they're not educated for or don't have the possibility of ever achieving can lead to great disappointment. And when I talk about reality testing, I have to talk about that as well. Your goals that you want and you're wishing for have to be something that are actually achievable. Otherwise, you're going to end up in disappointment.
Yeah, I mean,
like
I think
when that book came up, you're supposed to write a check for yourself for $1 million or something. Wasn't that the book?
Oh.
The original, what was the name of the book again? I'm sorry. The original, not your book.
The Secret?
The Secret. Right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to write your check for $1 million and then you're going to have
there's
it
some
$1 million.
things that are just really
that's pure
silly.
magical thinking, right? I mean, there's no reality to that.
Well, I think that whole, I'm going to go back to acronyms. What is the acronym about? Don't get in the action, don't get, what is it with the outcome, but don't get attached to the outcome? What is that acronym? That's not really an acronym. You know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about, yes.
And so it's kind of that idea. It's like put the action out there, but just don't get attached to the actual results. But put the action out there, and something will come forth.
Right. It's basically you're powerless over the results. You're not powerless over the actions you put into them.
Exactly.
And if you just tuned in, you are listening to KLEAN Radio. Heather, by the way, thank you for the call. Happy 16-year birthday. It's really amazing. And I love when all our callers call in to check in with us and tell us how well they're doing, or sometimes how not well they're doing. Both are equally as important. And again, we're in the studio tonight with Sherry Gaba.
Don't let addiction to drugs or alcohol steal another year of your life. KLEAN Treatment Center provides world-class addiction assistance that also treats the underlying causes and provides vital aftercare so people can get clean and stay clean. Live, kind, professional help is standing by to provide immediate assistance or to simply answer questions and provide guidance. If you or someone you care about is suffering from addiction, take action now. Log on to cleantreatmentcenters.com. That's clean with a K.
We're talking about the slogans in sobriety. I would actually love to hear what slogans help save your life. I think and in your book, which we are going to read, and before the next show, I will have a copy.
Yes,
I'm going to read the Law of Sobriety because sobriety is confusing. You were on Celebrity Rehab. It brought into the national vernacular of what treatment is. Sober House was, an outpatient.
And then
right?
sex addiction. Can't imagine that. I mean, putting that out on TV, it's kind of unbelievable, really.
Is there really sex addiction?
Yes.
Absolutely. What are you talking about?
I was just asking.
It's compulsive. It's excessive
compulsive
behavior.
sex
You're probably
disorders.
referring to if someone cheats, are they a sex addict? Someone cheats, they're not necessarily a sex addict. If their life, just like with addiction, is becoming unmanageable because of their behavior, yes. It's a sex
there's
addiction.
people that, their genitals bleed because they're so,
Too much information.
I can say this stuff on the radio. It's good.
That's a
We've
lot
come a long way.
Wow. No.
But there's people out there that don't believe that sex addiction can occur, and they need to know the severity of the forms it can take. I mean, there's people that almost cripple themselves.
And there's another subject people don't talk about is sexual anorexia. Everyone talks about sex addiction. They don't talk about addiction and sexual anorexia.
Why don't you tell us what that is?
Well, what it is a lot of addicts, when they get sober, can't have sex afterwards because they're just used to, drugs, sex, and rock and roll. And so there's sexual anorexia. They can only do it when they're high. And it's a big problem, and people are not talking about it. That'll be in my next book.
There's all sorts of things like that, also with fetishes and fixations as well.
With addicts?
Yeah. So,
well, because of all the
related
things.
to sex. So.
Because of the kinkiness of what they do when they're on the drugs.
Especially methamphetamine and other drugs that really stimulate sex drive.
And crack, cocaine.
That was a great show tonight. Loving it.
Just like all the things I missed by drinking beer.
Yeah, that's exactly. But here's the thing. I think what you're talking about.
That's all he did was drink beer.
Yeah. Well, no, I drank. That was at the end.
Oh, and the one time with marijuana, and you watched American Quote.
Yeah.
What a wasted opportunity.
So, Andrew, you're a good old-fashioned drug addict.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
But you know what you're talking about is exactly, just to put it in layman's terms. We hear this a lot, though. We hear people that when we started the bowling thing, a lot of people go, how can you bowl and drink, right? Because they had bowled so many times or gone to sporting events.
How can they bowl and not drink?
And not drink. So many people associate so many activities they do with the
we know that people that are chronic alcoholics actually drink better with a certain amount of alcohol in them. So, which is a scary thing to put out there. Now, if they go over the line, of course, then once again, they become out of control and not able to drive. But not drinking when you're an alcoholic, if you're actually physically addicted to the substance, that's why you see a lot of people actually get in accidents when they're hungover.
Yeah. That was me.
And they don't realize that that's related to alcohol. Those are alcohol-related accidents, but they don't get
because
tallied.
They've had a seizure and they don't talk about that.
Or they just are disoriented and they can't think. And
I actually had an accident when I was hungover, and everything was just slower. It's like I was missing a shift in my head.
Right.
And I remember getting to it. I'm not drunk.
Yeah.
But I needed a drink.
Yeah, a drink would have prevented the accident. This is the most horrible statement for me to make on radio.
And all that stuff. And that was at 22 years old.
Getting sober and not driving until you're coherent is the best solution.
And you know what's funny is, as we've done, I'm going to get to Matt in a second, who's calling from Portland, but I want to talk about that a little bit because I got sober. When I got sober, I wasn't able to go to rehab. For the first 90 days, I was going through some major weird things going on that I didn't understand. I felt like I was going to have lockjaw. I just, my body, because I was detoxing on my own.
Right.
And I just want to tell people out there.
And you are a hypochondriac to start with.
I told you, when I first got sober, I carried around the thermometer for a while, thinking I got sober.
So you did it by going to meetings?
I did it by going to meetings, and I needed a rehab, probably. But I also needed to get sober. But
you'd been through a few rehabs.
I had been in six.
Six.
I've been in and out. And but I was going through stuff. I didn't know what the DTs were. I didn't know that stuff. So, and we talk
Could
about
have been very dangerous.
And we talk a lot about that on this show. If you're out there and you're thinking about quitting drinking.
I mean, isn't that how Amy Winehouse?
It's how a lot of people. Yes. But I want to get to Matt. Let's go to Matt in Portland. Welcome to KLEAN Radio, Matt.
Hi, guys. Love your show.
Thank you.
I've got a slogan for you guys. I heard, I believe it was in the program, but my brain was so fuzzy at the beginning, and that's when I heard it.
So you're not sure it was even a slogan?
Well, it is a slogan. It is a slogan, and it was the one that it sticks in my head on a regular basis, but like hardly anybody's ever heard of it. It's no God, no peace, and no God, no peace.
And that's no with a K.
Yeah, the K-N-O-W, K-N-O-W, and then N-O for the last two.
I like that. I've never heard that before.
I've never heard that's a new one. That's a new age one.
So here's
maybe I dreamt it.
That's, maybe that happened. Maybe one night you said, hey.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even remember seeing her or anything like that. I just brought it up to my wife. I met her in the program. We're both AAers, and
how sweet.
Yeah. We met through the program, and very abusive relationships beforehand, and both of us came together, and we found God in our life, and we both got sober. So life's been really good here in Portland.
That's amazing. Can you do us a favor? Because I want you to go to Facebook.
Did they meet the first year?
Yeah, that's actually what I was thinking too. How long were you sober before you guys met?
I was sober for 9 months, and she was sober for 1 year.
Hey, giddy up! There you guys go. And, you know, sometimes it works.
Yes, it does. You know, there's no one size fits cut one
I'm
size fits
convinced some of the things that you hear, no matter where they are, it could be in the 12-step world, it could be in real life. It's people that have had bad experiences that are like, you know, I had a bad experience. I don't want you to have any sort of happiness or anything.
Or they're jealous.
Or they're jealous, yeah.
Exactly.
I'm really happy for you, Matt. How long have you married now?
I actually got married in March, and which was just a few months after we got together. But we work our program together. We listen to your show together.
Oh, wow.
Do
you go to Al-Anon?
We're going to start Al-Anon here really soon, just to do it. You know, I think it would be really good for my sponsees and everything like that for me to have the knowledge, and for my family, because my family doesn't go to Al-Anon, and I really wish they would. It's been suggested.
Okay, I think that's actually a great idea. But you know what's an even better idea, Matt? I want you to go to facebook.com/KLEAN Radio and post and post your slogan.
I will do just that.
And I love that you and your wife listen to us. And if you could private message us your address, I'd love to send you some stuff.
That would be awesome.
And that you could rock around in Portland, where we're going to be pretty soon, actually. You know, we're on a station.
We're just opening up 2 IOPs.
Yeah,
we're on a station up there.
And we're going to, you know, we're on, you know, obviously, you're listening to 101 KXL. I hope that's where you got it right.
Yeah, we have 2 intensive outpatient programs that are in development right now in Portland area. And then we're opening in Lapine as well with the residential treatment center right outside of Bend, Oregon. And then, of course, we already have outpatient and an IOP, intensive outpatient in Astoria, and we have residential beds in Washington and Long Beach.
We're all over. But also, we're going to have a bowling league in Portland pretty soon. And Andrew's actually sending me down to the pins of Portland. And Rand and I, Patrick, we're going to come bowl. And we'd love for you, whenever this starts, to be our inaugural bowler. That's Matt and his wife from Portland. How does that sound, Matt?
Her name is Meg, and we will be there. How do I find out about when you guys are going to be and how we're going to be?
We're going to say you'll hear about it on the air, and
check out Facebook.
Check out Facebook. Check out KLEANRadio.com. We're going to be down there, and Matt and Meg. I like that. Eminem.
Yeah.
Eminem.
And that's really cool. Happy birthday, congratulations, and all that jazz. And we're going to send you a bunch of stuff so you can give it to your sponsees too.
Awesome. You guys are awesome.
Cool. Thanks for listening. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Matt. And if you just tuned in, you are listening to KLEAN Radio. Time is running out. This has been a really fast show because we have an amazing guest. Her name is Sherry Gaba.
Thank you.
And I pronounced it correctly that time. And
I appreciate that.
And I got to get phonics sometimes.
Name phonics.
Name
phonics.
What?
It happens all the time. Or Gaba. I get Gaba. What did you say, Gaba?
Yeah, I said Gaba.
Gaba. What?
Yeah, it's Gaba, and that's
Gaba's kind of cool. It's like the Ramones.
Yeah, sure.
Gaba, hey.
Either one works.
I am a neurotransmitter, as you know.
People call me Jonah all the time, and they get the biblical stuff all mixed up. And I'm like, I'll go with Jonah, better than Judas, which I get sometimes. And you know, at least they're calling me a name.
I think we should put a survey on Facebook of which one you're more like.
That's a bad one. And like I said, you are listening to KLEAN Radio. We're here with Sherry Gaba. The book is Law of Attraction.
No, Law of Sobriety.
Laws of
And also, I just want to tell your listeners real fast, if they go to wakeuprecovery.com, I'm giving away a free meditation audio.
Wow.
Wakeuprecovery.com.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that. I think it's really important why meditation is important for sobriety.
Well, what I'm doing is I'm doing a 10-week course called Wake Up Recovery. I'm actually going to certify people in a program based on my book. And so basically part of that, one of the steps is mindfulness. And so that's why I'm giving away the meditation. But yeah, meditation's important. It's about clearing those negative thoughts, you know, and getting rid of that impulsive reactive behavior. That's really what mindfulness and meditation does.
So you do life coaching, you do recovery
I'm also
coaching.
Licensed psychotherapist.
Yeah, licensed psychotherapist. There's a lot you do. But often people get sober.
I get bored really fast.
I haven't heard that in the 12-step world at all, ever, from people that get bored quickly. But I think it's important to talk about because so many people get sober, and you know, you have sober coaching these days, sober companioning, you have sober guide, sober tour guide, sober everything.
I've never heard sober guide.
I've just made it up. It'll be something pretty soon because it's another way.
You just said it.
And because I just said it, right. Somebody's going to take it and run with it. And I think it can be very
Sobriety.com.
dangerous.
Go get the domain name now.
I think it's important to say that you are a psychotherapist.
Yes.
And that you have credentials to do these things. That
Yeah,
you
I mean,
didn't.
there's a whole conversation about the difference between a psychotherapist and a life coach. There are a lot of people that are
And a
life
psychiatrist.
coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, really, and then people that are helping people that probably need to be referring them to psychotherapists.
Yeah, I'm really annoyed actually about a lot of things. Even sponsorship in AA, I think,
agree.
is not properly structured.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a
lot of
whole.
people get a lot
that
of
could
bad
be a
information.
Whole show.
Oh, it has been, and we get a lot of
we get a lot of flack for it.
We get a lot of flack for it. We get a lot of flack, like you got a lot of flack, because sometimes we do talk about things that can be a little,
Well, when AA succeeds for somebody and then you come on and you say, you know what, sponsors aren't really properly trained, people don't want to hear that because it worked for them because they had a good sponsor and they're lucky. But there's a lot of people out there that don't know what they're getting in a sponsor.
I mean, isn't it just about a gray area in all of this? That they're just like everything.
I don't even understand where the concept of sponsor came from. It wasn't in the big book. So
no, it was not. But I mean, we need to be open. And the part of the program is openness and willingness. So there's got to be other ways of looking at things. And so, yeah, if there could be a structure. I mean, when I was in the program, when I first got into Al-Anon and my sponsor had a party and didn't invite me, I was devastated. And I know that sounds really silly, but
no, it doesn't.
That should be in the rule book. Like, you don't have a party.
You know what? We're actually going to make.
She was teaching you about codependence.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. And I was like going through a divorce. I had no friends, and I'm like, really? You're going to have a party? And so I had to find a different sponsor.
It's incredible.
You had to find one that would meet your needs.
I fired her.
You had to find one that was going to invite you to the party.
Right. I mean, I'm a sensitive person.
You know what? You're completely right, and we're actually going to do a show about that. When we do the show about it, Sherry, Gaba, you're going to come back in, and we're going to talk about these things.
Kinds of stories.
Because I love sponsorship. I love it, but I also know what it's needed for. And sometimes it's specifically, but your sponsor isn't your financial guide. Your sponsor's not your relationship expert.
I was going to say,
Certainly not your doctor.
Do not talk to
certainly,
your sponsor about dating.
It's not
No.
and they're not your psychiatrist.
Right.
No.
And I was turned away. One of the big reasons
And they're not
Andrew
someone
and
you're supposed to be sleeping with.
And it's a big reason
and they should
Andrew
be of
and
the
I.
same sex.
It's a big reason Andrew and
And
I
you still
wanted
shouldn't be sleeping with them.
Right.
But it's a big reason Andrew and I wanted to do this show, was talking about these things, because there was a point when I needed meds, and I had somebody tell me that he wouldn't sponsor
that's a whole
me
other subject.
because I was on meds.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had a long time of sobriety, and thank God I was able to handle that. But I can only imagine people with 3 months sometimes getting certain suggestions. And again, saved my life. But it's okay to talk about stuff. It's okay to have dialogue. And that's why I'm asking you, you're an actual, you're a psychotherapist. You're trained in what you do. You're trained to be a life coach. I
actually did get training as a life coach.
Right.
Did you know you don't have to have training to be a life coach?
You don't have
can
to.
actually
Yeah,
get
you can just call
get
yourself
a business card
anything.
and call yourself a life coach.
I think you can even call yourself a therapist in California without. You don't, as long as you don't put a degree after it.
I haven't heard that. But
Well, you got Dr.
And
Dre.
I'm a minister. I became a minister in 2006 with the Universal Life Church. So I've been a minister since 2006. That cost $99 in 5 minutes.
I love what you have spent money on in life. It's great. $50 on a pot card.
I got a medical marijuana card now and a minister card.
Trust me, in Colorado, you are a hot commodity.
Right? I can do.
You could do weddings.
I could do
on the,
stoned weddings.
Yeah, that's. You could literally get a coffee truck and drive around.
The rehab thing doesn't work out, and I can't help people anymore.
You have answers, Andrew, and we are running out of time.
Those are not the answers.
Sherry Gaba, tell us how people could get your book, how they could find you.
Yeah, the book is at Barnes & Noble, Amazon. My website is sherrygaba.com, or get a free meditation at wakeuprecovery.com.
Wow, free stuff.
I like
Whoever
that.
says Clean Radio doesn't give stuff out.
Yeah.
You do too. I got a sweatshirt and a t-shirt.
Right? Awesome sweatshirt, right?
I guess this is Dr. Dre.
We're getting cut off.
Is that Dr. Dre?
It's Gaba Gaba. Hey, it's the Ramones.
It's the Ramones.
Yeah.
God, I thought you said Dr. It's because of the guest. I'm sorry.
It's because the guest, he's finally putting it together.
I'm not hip on the Ramones like you are, Andrew. We're running out of time. Sherry Gaba, thank you so much. The book is called Law of Sobriety, and you've been great. And
thank you so much for coming in.
I want to thank everybody out there again. Go to facebook.com/Clean Radio. I want to thank our fans. I want to thank
thank our fans.
Patrick. I want to thank my mom for listening and Andrew's mom for listening. The best moms. Discussion continues at cleanradio.com.
Don't let addiction to drugs or alcohol steal another year of your life. KLEAN Treatment Center provides world-class addiction assistance that also treats the underlying causes and provides vital aftercare so people can get clean and stay clean. Live, kind, professional help is standing by to provide immediate assistance or to simply answer questions and provide guidance. If you or someone you care about is suffering from addiction, take action now. Log on to cleantreatmentcenters.com. That's clean with a K.